Hey everyone, excited to dive into a book that's had a huge impact on how I think about, well, pretty much everything. Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's all about those small, everyday actions and how they shape, well, our lives.
I know, right. It's not just another self-help book though, is it?
Yeah, this one really gets into like the science behind
It's
habits.
science.
So we're going deep, exploring how those habits form, why some stick like super glue, and most importantly,
The how-tos, right.
exactly how to build the good ones and break those pesky bad ones.
And one of the things that really grabbed me right away was how Clear starts the book, not with some, dry theory or anything, but with his own story.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I mean, talk about grabbing your attention.
Pretty intense, huh? Recovering from like a really serious brain injury, using tiny habits to basically rebuild his life. I mean, wow.
It's powerful stuff. Makes you think twice about playing baseball.
Yeah.
But it's not just about overcoming adversity, is it? It sets the stage for, well, seeing how those small, consistent actions, what he calls atomic habits, can really change things.
Yeah. Like in any area of life, really.
Hmm.
And then he brings in this totally fascinating example of the British cycling team.
Oh, yeah, I love that part.
They went from like totally average to world
The
champions.
whole bottom of the pack.
Yeah, and how? By focusing on these tiny 1% improvements in everything. I mean, everything. Like, who would have thought about changing a pillow?
Right.
And that leading to Olympic gold? I mean, come
But
on.
it's true. It's the power of, well, those marginal gains, right?
Yeah, tiny tweaks, massive
I was
results.
like, it might seem counterintuitive,
Right.
but, when you really think about it, like that compound effect,
Oh, yeah, the compound effect.
it starts to make sense.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's like investing,
Yeah.
Those small gains add up over time, and then boom.
Exponential growth.
Exactly. So, imagine getting just 1% better each day
Okay, I like this. I like this. 1% better.
at work, your relationships, your health. Imagine. Where would you be a year from now?
Wow. That's that's a powerful thought. Really makes you think about those small everyday choices, huh?
It does.
Like maybe they're not so insignificant after all.
No, not at all.
But okay, let's flip that around for a second. What happens if we get 1% worse each day?
Ooh, good point.
Procrastinating a little bit more, eating that extra cookie,
Yeah.
skipping the gym, just, here and there.
Sounds harmless, right?
It does, yeah.
But
That though.
it can be sneaky,
Yeah.
slowly chipping away at our progress.
And then before you know it,
Yeah, and then it becomes this downward spiral.
yeah, that's harder and harder to reverse.
Right, exactly.
And this is where Clear's focus on systems really hit me. You know how we always talk about setting goals,
All right.
lose weight, write that book, all that stuff. Yeah, learn a language, get that promotion. But Clear argues that actually focusing just on goals can be, well, kind of counterproductive.
Whoa, hold on. I always thought goals were like essential, right?
No.
So did I.
So why would he say that?
I know, right? It's kind of mind-blowing.
Well, think about it like this. Reaching a goal, it's a moment in time, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like you cross the finish line and then poof, it's over. But then what?
Yeah, what happens next?
If your whole focus was on that one outcome, you might lose steam or, you could even slip back into old habits.
So it's not just about reaching the goal, it's more about uh, building a system,
A
right?
sustainable system.
Yeah, something that supports like your ongoing growth.
He calls it focusing on the process, not just the outcome.
I'm starting to see this, yeah.
Building those daily habits that align with, the person you want to become.
And not just the stuff you want to achieve.
Exactly.
I've heard this called identity-based habits. Is that what we're talking about here? Bingo. It's not just about going to the gym a few times. It's about, seeing yourself as someone who values their health, making your actions match the identity you want.
So like instead of saying I'm trying to lose weight, it's more like I'm becoming a healthy person.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. A real mindset shift.
And then Clear lays out this framework. He calls it the habit loop to really understand, how those habits actually work.
It's a simple concept, but man, it's powerful.
It explains why we do the things we do and, how we can break free from those patterns if we need to.
Totally. It's like a blueprint for behavior change.
Okay, so let's break down this habit loop, right? You said it's a 4-stage process. So what are those stages?
Okay, so first up, we have the cue. It's the trigger that kicks off the habit.
Okay, the trigger. So what could that be? Like a notification on your phone?
Exactly. Or feeling hungry. Even just walking into your kitchen.
Right, so the environment can be a cue, too.
Big time.
And I bet that cue then triggers a craving, which is the second stage, right?
You got it. Craving is that desire, the urge that follows the cue.
Yeah.
It's the anticipation of the reward.
So, like, I gotta check that notification.
Yep. Or I need to eat something sweet, even though you just had lunch.
Oh, man, I know that feeling. Okay, so that craving then leads to the response, which is the actual habit, the behavior itself.
Yeah,
Like picking up your phone or grabbing a cookie.
exactly. And then we reach the final stage, the reward.
Ah, the reward. That's the good stuff,
It
right?
is. It's that positive feeling, the outcome
Yeah,
that
yeah.
reinforces the whole cycle.
Like, feeling entertained by what you see on your phone,
Mm.
or satisfying your hunger, or getting those likes on social media.
All of that. And it's that reward that makes us want to repeat the whole thing again next time.
So this loop, it can be well, it can be a good thing or a bad thing.
Definitely depends on the habit.
Right. Think about those times when you find yourself scrolling through, Instagram or TikTok or whatever, even though you have a mountain of work to do.
Been there?
You know you should be focusing, but that notification.
That little red dot.
Yeah, it's like a magnet.
Totally. It triggers that craving, right?
Yeah.
To see what's going on, what you might be missing. And then, boom, you're checking your phone. And then, you get that little dopamine hit from seeing something interesting or whatever.
Like it's almost like we're on autopilot,
Yeah.
just driven by these subconscious patterns.
Right, exactly.
Makes you wonder how much control we really have over our own behavior,
It's a good question, right? But hey, that's what we're here to figure out, isn't it?
Right. And luckily, Claire gives us some pretty practical strategies for taking control.
Breaking bad habits and building good ones.
He calls them the 4 laws of behavior change, and they're all based on, understanding this habit loop.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah. Tell me more about these 4 laws. Where do we even start?
Okay, so the first law is make it obvious. And remember, that cue, it's the trigger, right? It sets the whole thing in motion.
Right, the first domino.
Exactly. So if we want to build good habit, we got to make that cue super clear, super obvious. And for bad habits, well, we got to do the opposite. Make the cue invisible or get rid of it altogether.
Okay, so it's all about manipulating the environment
You got it.
to either, trigger those good behaviors.
Or avoid the bad ones.
It sounds simple enough, but I bet there's an art to it. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
It's not just about hiding the cookies.
Right. It's got to be more than that.
So Claire lays out these tactics,
Yeah.
like implementation intentions, which is basically planning when and where you'll do the thing you want to do.
Okay, implementation intentions. I like
Anyway,
that.
Instead of just having this vague goal,
Yeah.
you turn it into a concrete plan.
So instead of just saying, I'm going to meditate more, it's more like,
After I finish my morning coffee, I will meditate for 10 minutes in my living room.
specific. I like it.
Right. Removes the guesswork. Makes it harder to, procrastinate.
And then there's habit stacking.
Oh, yeah. Habit stacking is brilliant.
It's like, linking a new habit to one you already do.
Piggybacking on an existing routine.
Yeah. So like, after I brush my teeth, I will write for 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Using that existing habit as like a trigger for the new one.
Leveraging that momentum.
Yeah, I can see how that would make it, stick better, like a chain reaction of good habits.
And then we can't forget about the power of environment design.
Oh, yeah. This is a big one.
Clear is all about those subtle changes in our surroundings, how they influence our behavior.
Like keeping those healthy snacks in easy reach, right? And hiding the junk food where you won't see it.
Exactly. Or arranging your workspace to minimize those distractions.
Oh, yeah.
Or, even just keeping your workout clothes laid out the night before. These small things can make a big difference.
It's all about making it easy, right?
Exactly. Reducing that friction, setting yourself up for success, so you're more likely to actually do the things you want to do.
Love it. But okay, what about those, those habits that are just like naturally rewarding, like scrolling on your phone or eating sugary treats, all that good stuff?
Oh, yeah, the good stuff.
Yeah.
How do we resist?
How do we make those less appealing?
That's where the second law comes in. Make it attractive.
Make it attractive, okay.
And, we've got to remember dopamine plays a huge role in all of this.
Dopamine, yeah. That feel-good brain chemical.
It's our brain's reward system firing up, making us crave those experiences.
So how do we hack our dopamine system to make it work for us and not against us?
One strategy Clear talks about is Temptation bundling.
Temptation bundling. Okay.
It's basically pairing something you want to do with something you need to do
Yeah.
to make that need more appealing.
That's like that story about the guy who he hacked his exercise bike.
I remember that one.
So Netflix would only play if he was pedaling at a certain speed. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Genius.
Genius. Right. He bundled his workout with his Netflix habit, and, well, he made it way more likely he'd actually stick to his workouts.
So it's all about getting creative, making the process itself more enjoyable.
Exactly.
But what about those habits that are just, not naturally enjoyable? Even with some clever bundling, how do we make those stick?
Well, in those cases, we can think about social influence, how we imitate the habits of the people around us.
Yeah, peer pressure.
Kind of like that, especially
Yeah.
the people we admire or who, have that cool factor. If all your friends are constantly on their phones, wow, it's hard to resist that, right?
Totally. So the key takeaway here is surround yourself with people who have the habits you want to develop.
Exactly. Find your tribe, the people who are already living the way you aspire to live,
Hmm.
and, well, let their good habits rub off on you.
I like that. Find your tribe. It's like, their good vibes will become your good vibes.
Clear even gives the example of the Polgar sisters.
The Polgar sisters. Okay.
They were these like Hungarian chess prodigies. They were raised in this like total chess-obsessed environment.
Okay.
So that constant exposure, it made the game super attractive to them. And, well, it contributed to their amazing success.
Makes sense. Being around people who share your values, who have those good habits you want to develop, it makes a huge difference. But even with, the right environment and the right people around you, sometimes just the effort, the willpower, it can feel, overwhelming.
Yeah, right. Consistency is key, but it's not always easy.
Definitely not. And that brings us to the third law, doesn't it?
It does. Make it easy.
Make it easy. I like the sound of that already.
The goal here is to reduce that friction, to make it as effortless as possible to do the thing you want to do.
Yes. Less effort, more results. Sign me up.
So what are some practical ways we can make it easy?
Well, Clear talks a lot about environment design, like simple things, like packing your gym bag the night before, prepping those healthy meals in advance.
Okay, those are good ones. Or even putting your workout clothes, right next to your bed.
Ah, so you can't miss them.
Exactly. It's all about removing those obstacles.
Yeah, the things that might get in the way.
Make it as easy as possible to do the right thing.
I'm all about that. And there was this other concept, the 2-minute rule, right?
Well, yeah.
Making the first step so ridiculously easy you can't possibly say no.
Like instead of aiming for a 30-minute meditation, just start with 2 minutes. Or, instead of going for a full hour workout, commit to a 5-minute walk.
So it's all about lowering the bar, making it almost silly not to do it.
Exactly.
I love that. And then, well, hopefully that builds momentum.
That's the idea.
But what happens when that, that initial enthusiasm fades, the novelty wears off? How do we stay motivated in the long run?
That's a great question. And it leads us to the fourth and final law. Make it satisfying.
Make it satisfying. Okay, I like this one too. This is where the good stuff comes in.
It is.
The payoff, the reward, that sense of accomplishment. But isn't that often like delayed with good habits?
You're right. A lot of times, those good habits, they don't give us that instant gratification.
Right. We have to wait for the results.
So it can be harder to stay motivated. That's why Clear emphasizes making the habit itself satisfying.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we make those sometimes tedious, sometimes challenging habits, feel rewarding in the moment?
One really effective strategy is habit tracking.
Habit tracking. Okay, like a to-do list.
Kind of, but more about making your progress visible, tangible.
Okay, I get it.
Whether it's marking an X on a calendar, using a habit tracking app, whatever works for you. The act of actually recording your progress, it gives you this sense of accomplishment, and that reinforces the behavior.
Oh, yeah, like a visual reminder of your wins.
Exactly. It's almost like a game.
Yeah, games are fun.
And they're rewarding.
Exactly.
Clear even shares the story of Jerry Seinfeld. Remember him?
Cool.
He used this don't break the chain approach to writing jokes every day.
Okay.
So he'd mark an X on his calendar for every day he wrote.
Ah, creating that visual chain of his consistency.
Exactly. And the satisfaction of maintaining that chain, it became his own reward. And it motivated him to keep going.
Such a simple but brilliant strategy. It's like, turning the habit itself into the source of motivation and satisfaction. But what about those times when even tracking our progress isn't enough, when it just feels like a chore? and we're, just going through the motions.
That's a great point, and it's something Clear addresses directly. He talks about finding that Goldilocks zone for challenge.
To the Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, not too hot, not too cold, that sweet spot, where the habit is challenging enough to keep you engaged,
Yeah.
but not so difficult that you get overwhelmed.
So it's about finding that balance, right?
Yes, between boredom and frustration. Too easy. We get bored. Too hard. We get discouraged and give up.
Right.
Exactly. It's that just right level of challenge to keep us motivated, keep us coming back for more.
So how do we know when we've found that sweet spot? Any signs to look out for?
Well, everyone's different,
Hmm.
but one sign is consistency. You're showing up, making progress, even if it's slow and steady.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
You're engaged, not just going through the motions.
Right. And you're pushing yourself a little.
Exactly. Just outside that comfort zone, but not, so far that it feels overwhelming.
Finding that balance.
Yes.
Well,
Between
yeah.
challenge and enjoyment.
But even when you find that, that perfect spot, there will be times when motivation dips, right?
Absolutely.
When it feels like a chore, like, ugh, do I have to?
It's normal.
Yeah.
Claire talks about this. Those inevitable slumps. Everyone experiences them.
It's good to hear that. It's not just me.
Not at all.
It's easy to feel like you're, failing or something when those moments hit.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just, part of the process.
It is. It's all part of the journey.
So, what are some of those strategies that Clear suggests for navigating those rough patches?
One thing he talks about is focusing on the smallest possible step.
Ah, okay.
Remember that 2-minute rule?
Yeah, the 2-minute rule.
It can be a lifesaver when your motivation is low.
Okay, yeah.
So instead of trying to, tackle the whole workout,
Yeah.
just commit to putting on your workout clothes.
Just get started.
Exactly. Or instead of writing the whole chapter, just write one sentence.
On sentence. Anyone can do that.
Exactly. It's about making it so easy you can't say no, even when you're, not feeling it.
I love that. That's a great reminder. Any other strategies that stand out to you?
Clear also talks about the importance of reframing your perspective.
Reframing your perspective. Okay.
So instead of viewing the habit as this like chore,
Yeah.
try to see it as an opportunity for
Yeah.
growth, for
Mhm.
self-care.
Okay.
Focus on those benefits, even the small ones. Remind yourself why you started in the first place.
So it's about shifting your mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make the habit feel meaningful,
Yep.
connected to your values.
Love it. And I think sometimes it's just about, acknowledging that you're going through a tough patch.
Right. Give yourself permission to, take a break or adjust your approach.
Yeah, that's okay.
The key is to avoid that that all or nothing thinking.
Right. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Exactly. It's about finding ways to, keep moving forward, even if it's at a slower pace.
Progress over perfection.
Exactly. Oh, and Clear tells this really interesting story about a young stockbroker named Trent Dersmid. He had this simple strategy he used to boost his sales calls.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What'd he do?
Every morning, he'd start with 120 paper clips
120 paper clips. Okay.
in one jar. And he wouldn't stop making calls until he'd moved all of them to another jar.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how powerful, the simple visual cue like that can be.
It is.
Clear calls it the paperclip strategy. He points out, this kind of visual measurement, it can be incredibly motivating.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like seeing the results of your efforts in a really tangible way.
Exactly. Whether it's a habit tracker, a workout log, or even just tally marks on a piece of paper, seeing that progress, it can make a big difference.
It's like a little reward system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it also ties back to, the first law.
Make it obvious.
Make it obvious. When we track our habits, we're constantly reminded of our commitment, our progress.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, it reinforces the behavior.
This deep dive has been, it's been amazing. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how habits work and how I can, use them to create real change.
It's been fun exploring all of this.
It has. And what's really inspiring about Clear's approach is how, he takes all this complex research and makes it, practical, actionable.
Totally.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into atomic habits, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the most important message is that, tiny changes consistently applied, they can lead to remarkable results. It's not about, some massive overnight transformation. It's about those small 1% improvements that compound over time.
It's about embracing the power of those small steps, those tiny tweaks.
Exactly. And those tiny tweaks, they shape us into the people we want to become.
It's not about being perfect. It's about being, well, a little bit better each day. And that's pretty awesome.
It is.
So as you go about your day to day, think about one small habit you can start building, or one you want to strengthen. Maybe it's drinking more water, getting enough sleep, or even just taking a few minutes to practice gratitude, whatever it is, remember.
Consistency is key.
Consistency is key. And don't forget about those habits you want to break.
Right.
Think about how you can use those 4 laws of behavior change to make them less appealing.
Exactly.
Could you remove the cue, make it less attractive, increase that friction, or make it less satisfying?
You have the power to change your habits.
You become the architect of your own life, really.
That's the beauty of it all.
Designing your life with intention, one small step at a time.
I love that.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.